Thanks for joining us today on the office hours on August 28th. My name is Garrett Sussman. I am the Senior Content Marketing Manager at GradeUs. And today we're basically going to go over a variety of new features, some of the different resources that we have available, and then take some question and answers at the end. Appreciate everyone taking the time. So let's dive into what we're going to cover. Today, we're going to go through our new listings monitoring, our MPS layout, our printable review requests, our new Zapier integration, which is in beta. We're going to talk about how you can get involved trying that out. Some brand new review display tools that are on the horizon. Just a recap of where our resources are and how you can access them. This is mostly for our agency customers and resellers. And then just going over the GradeUs blog, some of the stuff that we're working on, and then we'll take your Q&A. So first off, listings monitoring. Big feature that we released a couple weeks ago. And so basically the idea behind listings monitoring is that it's for businesses to monitor the name, address, and phone number across a selection of key citation and review sites. So currently in the first iteration of this feature, you're going to be able to monitor your Google listing, Google My Business, Facebook, Yelp, Yellow Pages, and City Search. And so one key question that's been coming up is that more sites are going to be added on an ongoing basis over the next few weeks and months. Basically, the idea is we're going to roll them out. We want to make sure that we have the top citation sites covered, especially when it comes to your local search presence. We all know that citations do matter. And it's important that your name, your address, and your phone number matches across different citation sites. That is going to have a small impact on your search rankings and whether or not your business appears when people are searching, for a local intent search, like restaurant near me, dentist near me, that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it works in action in the GradeUs platform. So let me bring that to front. So basically, this tool is basically just to verify whether or not the listings are correct. It's a monitoring tool. It's not going to change it for you within the system. And one reason that that's appealing to us is that it gives you more control over these different listings on a more manual basis. So the example that I have here is for our Holy Cow restaurant. I'm based in the Arlington area outside of DC, and this is a great burger joint. So I loaded this up here. So when you are on your GradeUs account, basically now you will see this listings option on your dashboard. So you go over to the left-hand side, you see your listings, you click on that. So the really cool thing that you'll notice is it has all your information from your main business listing that you set up will automatically be pulled in here. So it takes the business name that you put in there or that you connected when you connect a location on your GradeUs account for a new business. It pulls in the street address you added, the postal code, and the phone number. And then you'll click this Get Listings, and it'll update the whether or not everything matches, the business name, the address, the postal code, and the phone number. And so in this first example, I'll show you one, that in action, but when I pulled this in, you'll actually see that for this Holy Cow listing, the one that's different is on Facebook. They actually, the city is Delray, and so on their Facebook listing, they actually put in as Holy Cow Delray as opposed to just Holy Cow. So you can see on Yelp, Holy Cow. You can see on Google My Business, Holy Cow. But when you go to Facebook, it says Holy Cow Delray. So whether you're using this for your own business or you're doing this on behalf of your clients, this is an important service for those main listings to make sure that you have that consistency across the different name, address, and phone numbers. David, in terms of the service that you use, basically it may not replace other listing management services. It is listings monitoring, but if you're providing that service for your clients and you are making, updating those listings for them, then this will be able to cover it, and we'll be adding more citations and directory sites over the next few weeks. So, if I go over to an example here, you can actually connect a location if you haven't done one yet. And it's really simple. It's a really great tool. So if I click the connect a location, and you can just type in the business name here. So if I type in something like the Peacock Inn, which is back when I lived in New Jersey, this was a local hotel. So I find it there. I click continue, and this is just like the connect a location on the main site. And so for anyone who does have questions in the chat as we're going through this, feel free to throw it in there. Boris is answering as we go along. So, just like setting up a new business, it'll identify which of the listings that you're trying to connect. So yes, that's the correct address. Yep, that's the correct address. That's the correct address. It's got the Google. It's got the Judy's book. Okay, this all looks good. So we'll click continue here. And so here's what it looks like in action. Basically, it'll take a few seconds. We are constantly making tweaks to this. One thing that we did right off the bat is it might take a few seconds to start pulling in all of the different listings, and it doesn't necessarily do it asynchronously. What that means is you can actually leave this page, go along, do some other work, come back to it, and it will start to pull those in. So you'll see here that it's starting to retrieve these, one at a time. So they don't actually have a city search listing. So it says it's not found. Yes, it is monitoring only for this. So the Peacock Inn, so this is really interesting. In their original business name, they actually added an Ascend Hotel Collection member, which is really an interesting way to go about setting up your listings. And this is kind of one of those situations where it's called keyword stuffing, which is not a best practice when it comes to having a listing or a citation set up. You don't really want to put in keywords about your business just so you show up in search. And so you want to have the actual business name. So in this case, you want it to be just the Peacock Inn. So on Yelp and Yellow Pages, they have the full listing like this that was pulled in. But on Google My Business, it's just the Peacock Inn. In theory, it probably should actually just be the Peacock Inn, checking that, and these would be wrong. So that's how you want to think about setting up your listings, is really just have the actual business name. Because if someone else were to report you on Google My Business that you didn't have the actual business name, Google might penalize you for that. So moving on, we are going to go back to our slides. Okay. Next up, MPS layout. So as most of you know, with the MPS layout, we have a variety of different layouts at Grade Us, whether you want to do the direct buttons and you just want to have the buttons option and give anybody the option to go straight to the review site that they feel comfortable with, or the segmenting options, whether that's the stars, the faces, the hearts. The one option that we just recently had that we added that we haven't had for a long time is this MPS layout. And so the idea behind the MPS layout, for those who are not familiar, is it allows you to connect. MPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and it's a 1 to 10 rating. It's very popular among large corporations and enterprises, but can be used for any type of business. And so the way it actually works is it's this metric where if people were to rate your business 9 or 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, they're considered promoters. And so these are your loyal customers who will sing your praises, they'll use your company and yours alone. Those are your biggest fans. The second group is the 7 through 8, is a satisfied but unenthusiastic customer, also known as passive. So, they like your business, but they're not necessarily evangelists going out and just sharing it to everyone, they know. They like it, it works for them. And then the third is 0 through 6, is a detractor. And these are someone who are so unhappy with your company that they may, in fact, actually start warning people to avoid using your products or services. And so, a while back, someone created this score, and they basically remove, what they do is when you've gathered all of the different answers, they created this metric where they take a percentage of your promoters, passives, and detractors. They ignore the passives in favor of subtracting your detractor score from your promoter score. And the resulting number is this NPS score, which can range anywhere from a -100 to a +100. And it's interesting because there are lots of different articles out there that talk about the benchmarks across different industries of how you can consider what's a good NPS score. Typically, it's anywhere from like a 20 to a 40, or 20 to 50 is considered good, whereas anything really higher than a 50 tends to be considered a best in class. So if you Google Net Promoter Score and your industry, you get to get a sense of what are the expectations, because obviously, you know, no offense to anyone in the cable industry, but if you run a cable company, they're not really known for having the best customer support. So their benchmarks are a lot lower when it comes to their NPS score. And then basically when you're collecting that metric, you can do that, you know, on a quarterly basis, or you can do it as an ongoing basis using Grade Us. And you can set those goals of what you want to achieve on how to improve your score. It's interesting because you can actually use that internally for employees as well, but it's a great metric. And now we have it available on Grade Us, where you can see what you want to do is you want to go over to your funnel, go over the setup, you click this change button and you'll see that NPS score on the bottom, and then you'll just apply that. And so you can also set the threshold for the NPS score where, you know, only your 9 and 10 customers go on to the review sites of your choice, whereas, you know, 1 through 8 get the feedback form option for Grade Us. So you can set all of that up in the setup settings and then going over to the content to set the threshold. So another thing that we're really excited about, we actually used to have this, removed it, and we brought it back by popular request, is these printable review requests. This is really popular among some more old school types of industries like healthcare and the legal industry, as well as industries where sometimes it's harder to capture email or phone information to make the review request. And so this is available now, gives you a little bit more control. But if you go on your Grade Us account and you go over to the review request section and you see this print tab, you can create this little template that you can download and have printed out and put these little business cards right in the brick and mortar store. The idea here is it includes a QR code that would link to your review funnel. It includes the link to your Grade Us review funnel, and then you can add a little description, and it includes your logo as well. It's really popular among a ton of different industries. It's very effective, especially when you don't always have the chance to send out an email review request or an SMS review request. Okay, Zapier integration. Now, this is something that we're really excited about. There's a lot of opportunity to build this out, but in terms of our MVP, our minimum viable product, it is on Zapier. We have an integration and it's currently in invite only. So what that means, Zapier, first off, for those who don't know, is a service that allows non-tech marketers and businesses to connect their different apps together with other apps without needing to hire a developer to code the connection. So, you know, right now we have our API, which is a way to talk to the Grade Us app and pull a bunch of different information that we're collecting, whether it's reviews or it can send out information like sending out review requests. But previously, to access the API, you needed to write the code in order to trigger those different events. And you need to know API development code to have different apps speak. Zapier actually simplifies that process and allows you to very easily just connect our app with a variety of other apps. And we'll talk about what those ideas are. In terms of Grade Us, currently it's in beta. It won't come out of beta until we have 50 testers and users who are actually connected to the app. And so we wanted to provide that invite-only opportunity. And in order to access it going forward, you'll see here, you need to be a paying Grade Us customer. you need to be on the agency plan or higher. You need to have an API key provisioned to your Grade Us account. Now, if you're on the agency or higher, you get access to that, but you would just need to reach out to support and request API key access, and they'll set you up. That's just support@grade.us. You need to have a Zapier account in order to use Zapier. And people say Zapier, I say Zapier. Zapier, Zapier, doesn't matter. And then you need the beta invitation received via Zapier. So here's the form right here. I know this is a long link. So what you can do is you can either send a request to support and they can send you this link just so you have it for your own documentation. Just very simple invite form that requires your email. We will also be, this whole webinar is recording, and I'm going to include this in the Grade Us monthly newsletter that's going to go out next week. And so I'll include that invite form next week as well. But if you want immediate access, you could either email me after the webinar, Garrett, Garrett @grade.us, or support@grade.us. So the way the Grade Us Zapier integration works is we have two different types of integrations. There are triggers and there are actions. Now, one aspect of this is right now there are only a few triggers and actions. However, anything that's set up in our API could ultimately be developed for the integration. So if there is demand for it, we could continue to build out our integration and add more functionality to the Zapier app depending on the demand. But so right now, the idea is there are triggers and there are actions. The triggers are basically when we get information from a review, something that happens in Grade Us can trigger another app to happen. An action is something that you can make Grade Us do if something is triggered by a different app. I hope that's not too confusing. But basically the examples are triggers or functions that bring data into Zapier. And currently there are only 4 triggers that have been added to the Grade Us integration. There is an opportunity to create more. But so the first one would be a new review. So when a new review is collected, you could take that and trigger that into another app, that review information. So the review text, the review attribution, the review name, the star ratings, that information can be triggered and connected to another app. You could do something with new customer feedback. So say you did have on one of the segmented layouts, you got a negative feedback response. That could trigger another app. And I'll show you what some of these ideas are, whether that's like a to-do type of app or a Google Drive, like Google Sheets type of app. When you receive that customer feedback, this Zapier app would trigger something to happen in another app. You could test and list profiles. Those are very simple tests currently. So just test to ping, verify whether your API credentials are working, or triggers when a dynamic dropdown above profile is needed. Those are more advanced for agency customers with some other dev capabilities set up, but it's a trigger that's currently available in the Zapier integration. The other one, which I think is much more obvious and much more applicable, is actions. And those are actions for Zapier, for the Grade Us to do something when another app triggers it. So currently, we only have one action which has been added to our integration, and that's to create a mail recipient. So the idea is through the Zapier app, when you connect it to a mail service provider, that would trigger a review invite campaign to a recipient via email or SMS. And so here's an example that I set up. And so the idea would be, for instance, say you use MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber, you could basically connect it. So when you get a new contact that's added to a list in MailChimp or Campaign Monitor or Constant Contact, when the new subscriber is added, that would automatically trigger the Grade Us app to send out a review invite campaign via email or SMS. Now, why this is so awesome is it automates the process of sending out the review invites connected to whatever CRM that you might use, or like if someone's added to your CRM, you could connect it to HubSpot or WordPress or something like that, or Zendesk. And so the possibilities of these different recipes, these apps, are endless. It really is only limited by the current actions and triggers that we have and the current actions and triggers of all the other apps that are available on Zapier. So just to give you a sense of some of the integrations that you could potentially connect this with, they host over 1,500 applications. So as I mentioned, the automation possibilities are really limitless. So here are a few that might be of interest to you. Basically the email marketing platforms, and you can just see a list of all the different ones that we have here: MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber, MailerLite, Sendinblue, Campaign Monitor, SendGrid, and this is just like a few of these. There are a ton more that you could connect. Now, those are just email. We have Sife, which is the business dashboard intelligence tool you could connect it to. You could connect it to CRM systems like Salesforce, Agile CRM, HubSpot, as I mentioned. Facebook pages, you could do, like we mentioned, with the actions, we obviously have our Facebook integration where we can automatically share the positive reviews on Facebook, but you could set it up some way differently yourself. You could do it with LinkedIn. You could do it with any sort of Gmail, G Suite, Google Drive. So those are just some of the ideas of how you would be able to do it. Additional use cases, and it was really cool. Cindy, our product manager, who wasn't able to be here today, went through and came up with some really cool concepts. So you can share your reviews with a customer list or a prospect list. Say you have a bunch of prospects that are considering your service, you could share the 5-star reviews and set that up with your existing customers or prospects. You could get all of the customer feedback. So how we mentioned we had that action or the trigger that would be for customer feedback. We could send that feedback into a customer list connected to HubSpot. You could connect it to a Google Sheet, so you have all of your customer feedback. That might be an organic living document that all of your support team can have access to and assign there. You can compile all your reviews and feedback in a shared Google Doc or Google Sheet, as I mentioned. You can post the review text to an Instagram as a caption. You could text customers who leave negative reviews for immediate follow-up. So basically you get a negative review, text the customer immediately that you're going to follow up with them. You could send a thank you follow-ups to reviewers, like those who leave feedback. So this is really cool. Cindy found an app that basically writes handwritten notes to your customers that is integrated in Zapier. And so the idea here is if you got a positive review, you would be able to set up Grade Us to trigger this other app functionality to then send out a thank you note to that customer for like a handwritten thank you note for writing that review, which is really cool. That would be a really cool way to connect it. And then I remember way back, there was one customer I talked to who wanted to connect it to QuickBooks. So for those of you e-commerce businesses, this was actually a t-shirt design agency, and he had it connected to QuickBooks that when he completed an invoice in QuickBooks, he wanted to have that completed invoice trigger a review request campaign. So now you'll be able to connect your QuickBooks Zapier integration with Grade Us and make sure you had the right trigger and action and set up that functionality. So really cool Zapier integration. Like I mentioned, there's that form. I already saw a few email requests come in, so I appreciate you folks doing that. And we'll have support get you those forms so you can fill it out and start testing out this beta. Really exciting. So we're on the verge with a lot of these. We're talking a couple weeks, but we have these review display tools that folks have been asking for a while. And there are 3 components of this that we're really excited about. The first one is, now I got to go back a couple slides. I went too fast. Okay, so first off is the WordPress Review Stream plugin. And so we are literally in the next week or so releasing our new WordPress plugin, which will look a lot like our old WordPress plugin, but there are a couple of key performances. We've tested to make sure it works in 5.2 of WordPress. So there's a lot more kind of functionality there. It won't break on you for 5.2. The real big thing, which our developer John has been working on a lot, and a lot of our dev team, Gary and a few of the other folks there, is supporting a third schema representation called JSON LD. Now, this is really important because it's actually the recommended schema type that's required by Google for searching. And so if you're doing what Google requests, it's going to be that much more valued in your search visibility and results. It gives you that much of a better chance to be surfaced on search engine results. And one of the key parts of that too is that when you're setting up your Google My Business listing and you're choosing your category, there is a monster list of different categories. Now, this new schema format using JSON LD actually supports assigning your business type in Grade Us so that you'll be able to appear in the more appropriate searches in Google. So what you'll be able to do in the future is, instead of just having a bigger umbrella category like law office, you'll be able to really specify a personal injury litigation law office as well. And so that's going to be really valuable for when someone is not just, searching for law office, or not just searching for pediatrician or, general practitioner doctor. They'll be able to find exactly the subcategory that you're more likely to appear in those search results. That's going to benefit your business, or for our agencies and resellers, that's going to benefit your clients. The second component that's coming up, it's really cool, is this new floating badge embeddable widget. Now, we are open to different terminology. Currently, we're calling it the floating badge embeddable widget. What that does is, you see that little badge, it can appear on the bottom of your website. It's a great form of visual social proof, and basically it can carousel your new reviews as they come in. That's going to be available soon. It'll show, the text, the attributable website, review site that it was left on, the star ratings, the date it was left on, and the person. People have been asking for this for a long time. So whether it's something you want to put on your website, or if you have clients who would be interested in it, that is coming up in the next few weeks. We're really excited about that. And then finally, for the review display tools, we have a new redesigned look of our review stream that's coming out. So basically, it mimics the design of our modernized layouts. It's a lot sleeker, a lot more modern. You'll be able to have that on your review funnel landing page as a stream down here, but it will also work either on a review specific page on your website, or as like a sidebar on on like a home page. And so this is the review stream that will then be able to have that JSON LD schema friendly markup, and you'll be able to get those kind of search benefits. One thing that does come up when it comes to organic stars, people ask about this all the time. While we can't control on your search results whether the star listings will appear, that's ultimately up to Google. It does not ever appear on your homepage. That's one thing that's come up over time, is if you put this on your homepage, you won't necessarily see those little stars when someone searches for you on Google in your organic listings. That said, it's really popular when it appears on a review page or a product or services page. Then you are more likely, when you have the schema friendly markup on the review stream activated, you are more likely to see those star ratings, the aggregate rating, and the number of reviews appear in your actual search listing. As I mentioned, no guarantee that'll happen. That's up to Google, but our review stream plugin on WordPress would provide the code that would allow you to appear and have those stars appear. Okay, so one thing that's actually been around for a long time, but it's a little hidden, and we want to make sure that you are aware of it, is our resources. So basically, if you are an agency or a reseller and you're looking to sell our white label review service, our white label version of Grade Us, we provide a bunch of resources that can help you and your clients or prospects. And actually for our existing customers, if you're on the agency plan, we do have a few tools that would help you as well. But if you're on your Grade Us account and you're on the dashboard, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see these little icons. If you click on the question icon, you'll see the resources. You click into that and you'll see this page with a variety of different resources that I'll go through real quick. One thing that does come up from time to time is if you are logging in from your white labeled version of the Grade Us platform, you wouldn't see these, because part of this is if you're white labeling us, you don't necessarily want your customers who have access to your dashboard to be able to see these resources. And so one thing, we don't make those accessible on your white labeled domain. So what you would need to do is basically reset the link and log in. So you click on grade.us/business/open, log in that way. And then when you log in, you would be able to see the resources. And so what do those resources entail? Basically, it entails a set of articles that are both white labeled for your client education, or just best practices for your own agency to educate your own staff on review management, reputation management. It's a whole set of docs and PDFs that you can then use to educate your clients, educate your own staff. We have a brand new 2019 white label explainer video that you can download and put on your own website. You can download both the video and the transcript. And if you need the voiceover, you can do one with just the sound effects only version that doesn't have the voiceover. That way you could either record a version with your own voice and put that on top of the video. That's why you might want the transcript, is to, see where everything kind of lines up, but then make little tweaks that reflect your own business. And then we have an older version that's more kind of explanatory. This is older, so it's slightly outdated in some capacity, but it does a really great job of showing the benefits and the value proposition for your prospects on why reviews matter. So same sort of thing, we have a long and a short version, and then you can download the sound effects only version there. Then we have a few different other resources that you can use that are white labeled, whether it's our old school basic pitch deck with some statistics and explanation of the review funnel that you can download and make any sort of modifications with your own brand on there. We have a little bit of a newer version. One thing that I love about the newer version is it really takes the time for you to understand your prospects. So if you do a little research, we have a guide that shows you how to use it. But if you do a little research and see the review portfolio of the prospect, usually when you're looking at prospects, you might see that they either don't have a lot of reviews or none. They might have a bad set of reviews and a bad aggregate review rating. They might not have any recent reviews, or they might not have reviews distributed across multiple review sites like Google, Facebook, industry-specific review sites. This second pitch deck is much more custom made for those specific pitches. So when you put in the time and you kind of identify that specific prospect's review situation, and you can show them how you can help them with statistics and themes and bring in images from their own review portfolio, you're going to have a lot easier time closing that prospect. One big thing that we see is really valuable among our agencies who are prospecting and finding new clients is compare them to their competitors. If you show a prospect their review portfolio and compare it to the person in their geographic area, and they see that they're not performing as well, that's a huge value proposition there. And then finally, we have a white labeled review management checklist. Now, this is a really comprehensive way to go through all the different ways that you can either help your own business or help your prospects, whether that's starting with setting up your review listings. That's where listings monitoring comes in handy. Setting up your review funnel, setting up your review links, setting up who's going to be in charge of your review monitoring and responding to reviews, which is becoming more and more valuable in terms of not only your reputation and how people kind of look at and respect your business. We just had our support director, Kelly. We got a nice review in today, and she went in and just thanked them for the review on Capterra. And so it's really important when other people are looking and evaluating your business that they see that you're engaged and participating, and that much more, that you care about your customers, which we do. And, in the past, we might not have been as good about it. We're trying always to improve upon it. And so that's one thing that we're really looking at now, whether it's on Capterra or Facebook or G2 Crowd, is responding to both the positive and the negative reviews, because, I think that's just good business, taking care of the customers, celebrating the ones who appreciate you, and trying to resolve the ones that didn't have a good experience. Okay, and finally, the Greatest Blog. Now, as the content marketing manager, this holds a special place in my heart. We put a lot of work into it. I would love for more people to see it. We share it on Twitter and Facebook, but definitely want to let everyone know that we're creating this content for you. Recently, we are currently going through a variety of specific industries in which we're deep diving on how to get reviews, how to monitor reviews, ideas for how to share and market your positive reviews. And so up to this point, we've covered restaurants, the legal industry, the healthcare industry, real estates, home services, hospitality. We have a wedding industry one going out on Tuesday, and we're always, adding new content to the blog. We post about 3 times a day usually, whether those are updates that are going on in the industry, agency advice. We've reached out to a bunch of different agencies and talked to them about starting up and what were some of their challenges and how do they build out their clientele and all those sorts of ideas. And then we've been doing a lot of interviews with digital marketing experts. I personally find them really interesting because I geek out over digital marketing and anything new that's going. So, right now, recently we had one with Jason Barnard, who runs a podcast called SEO is AEO. And basically it's this idea of how instead of being a search engine optimizer, you're an assistive engine optimizer. So the idea is basically helping Google discover you by really focusing on your brand and your entities and making sure that when people do search for your brand, you have a little more control over the narrative by providing, all of the different assets and all of the different content that you'd want people to find when they're actually searching specifically for you. And ultimately, if you do have any ideas on what you would like us to blog about and cover, please email me directly. Always love having ideas, getting feedback, and just providing things that are more valuable for our customer base. So that brings us to the end with the Q&A time. So at this point, I'm gonna get out of this preview mode so I can see your chat and start to see your questions. I also have Boris here who is going to chime in on any questions that might have come up. So Boris, why don't you, if you had any, saw any chats over the course of the webinar, what are some of the ones that came up that you think we should address first, and we can start to really go through them. And thank you everybody for submitting your questions. Now is the time to really get them in there if I haven't covered it yet.
Hey, so a lot of great questions overall came in. I've been trying to answer them as they've come, but apparently the questions themselves were not coming to the chat, so people were only seeing my answers, and some of them were like, sure, no problem, or not really indicative of what the question was. So I can gladly go through a couple of them. Most of them are pretty quick. And yeah, let's see how much time. We seem to have a good amount of time left, so I'll go through the ones that came in through the chat first, just so everybody knows what's going on. And then afterwards, you can kind of open it up for more questions. So the first one was from Kurt. Are the features going to be available to white labeled agency sites? And the answer to that is yes. All of the features that are non-agency specific. So a lot of the resources that we discovered, obviously, we're not rolling those out to your clients because those are specifically for you. But all the other things, the new things that we're creating, of course, you want them to be able to be used by your clients for sure. In terms of the listings monitoring tool, so it is, again, just a monitoring tool for now. And it'll be evolving soon. We'll hopefully be able to provide you easy ways of, going to those third-party sites and changing the data. It's not meant to be a replacement for like Yext or something like that. But what it is meant to do is for some of your kind of easier clients, or for those dipping their toes into the listings space, to be able to provide them some information, make them aware of what the issue is without having to devote resources of putting them on a full listings management plan. And again, a lot of customers don't need that. Even with platforms like Yext, if you ever leave them, those listings will stop. Will stop being posted. So for places like doctors' offices, or long-time businesses that aren't changing their address or any specific information about their listings for years and years at a time, you don't need an active listings management platform for that. You really need to change them once. It'll probably take a few hours to do it manually, but you'll do it once and it'll last for years at a time, and you won't have to worry about them being changed when you change your listing management provider. There were some specific questions about the kind of functionality piece of the listings monitoring. I can't really go through them because I can't even see what was done now because it was done live. However, we'll hope, any support questions, or, as you're seeing different things, it is the first month we rolled it out. There are definitely going to be a few bugs, and we appreciate you notifying us about them, and we're going to try to fix them. Some things are bugs, some things are by design, like somebody mentioned that it didn't pick up the difference between MT and mount. It's possible that was a bug. It's possible that Google doesn't care about that difference. Some minor differences they do care about, like apostrophes and names. Like if something is, Mike's, and one place has Mike's with an apostrophe, one place has Mike's without an apostrophe, that'll show up. Other things won't show up as differences just because Google doesn't really care about them. Scrolling down here. So in terms of the Zapier thing, so for now, unsubscriptions aren't able to be sent out via the Zapier trigger. So the only trigger the Zapier integration currently has, that's data outflow. So for instance, you can create, based on Grade.us data going to Zapier, is for a new review or new customer feedback. So those are the two triggers that we currently have. And of course, over time, we'll hope to expand them as well.
And just while Boris is going through those, just a heads up, we're going to try to get to all the questions as we get to the end here. If we don't get to everyone, we definitely will try our best to get to you, after. We'll have someone from support try to follow up. And just for any of the Reploop customers out there asking about migrations, for any account-specific questions, you'll want to reach out to support directly, where they'll be able to take a look at your account and give you an update.
Yeah. And recently, Ryan asked an important question about penalties from Google using the sentiment tool. We haven't personally seen any yet. Again, that doesn't mean that they won't be coming. That doesn't mean they can't come retroactively. Google did change their guidelines around sentiment in like April of this year, or a little earlier. And so to say that sentiment is not available. Again, we do have the Google-friendly sentiment tool within the place that still allows customers to go to the feedback section, but stays in line with Google's sentiment policies. It's up to you to decide what to do with that. Again, other platforms besides Google don't mind segmentation. It just depends on the platform. So it's ultimately for you to decide. Google has said that they will penalize people, so it's something that they can do at any given point, and it's something that they can do retroactively. So take that for what it's worth. Though we haven't seen very much, that doesn't mean it's not going to come. That doesn't mean you should be kind of more careful than less. But it's entirely up to you to kind of decide how and when to use that sentiment tool or the segmentation piece. Link to the Zapier will be sent out afterwards. All the links available will be sent.
Actually got it right here, Boris. Here, so sorry I didn't get that at the time, folks. I just posted in the room. You should be able to see the link to the form. Can everyone see that in the chat? The form to sign up for the Zapier beta invite.
Yep. Great. If you're logging in through Grade.us /open, I think you need to log out of your account first. So if you didn't initially log out of your account, you might not be able to to do it. So you have to log out, then go to grade.us/business/open, and log back in, and then it should work. If it still doesn't work, just reach out to support. We'll try to figure it out there, but that should do the trick if you just log out beforehand. You can, you can use blog content for your agency or whatever. That's why we create blog content. Not all of the blog content we turn into a white labeled version, so keep that in mind. But for sure, please feel free to use it. Garrett, is the recording of this webinar available?
So with the webinar is being recorded. We will be sending out our monthly newsletter next week, in which we'll include the recording on there. It will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we do upload our webinars there.
Somebody asked how to safely monitor, get Yelp reviews. The short answer, there's not really a way. Yelp makes it hard for even business owners themselves to request reviews. Forget about segmentation. They literally don't allow Yelp business owners themselves to directly request reviews from customers. So the short answer is it's hard. They intentionally make advertising the only way to really request reviews, possibly by intent. So take that for what it's worth. So there's not really an easy way to do so.
And to speak to that as well, Boris, with Yelp, to your point, it's like, it's the same thing with Google. There's always a risk to actively solicit reviews other than having like a sticker of find us on Yelp in the office space. It's another one where we haven't heard of many people losing their reviews due to Yelp. And one of the common questions that came up is, how do you not get your reviews filtered from Yelp? And that typically is more of a reflection of the profile of the Yelper who left the review. If it's someone who's never left a review before, unfortunately, chances are their review is not going to be recommended. And so what I recommend, and what I've actually seen recommended from other experts, is just try your best to get as many Yelp reviews as possible. The more you have, the less likely they're going to be filtered. Which reminds me one more point. When it comes to learning about things that are going on in the industry, I highly recommend two sources to keep yourself informed besides us, of course, is seroundtable.com. Barry Schwartz, aka Rusty Brick on Twitter, is the kind of guru when it comes to any sort of Google updates and search result updates. And so a lot of times recently, he's been talking about local search. So anytime you search for something local, Google is really experimenting and playing around with a ton of different features. Some of it's awesome and really helps businesses, just like Google Posts and Google Q&A, and how reviews now are surfaced as automatic answers in Google Q&A sometimes. They're providing more functionality for managing your Google My Business, but there's also some scary negative stuff going on. Like, recently they're seeing tests of advertising other businesses in your branded Google My Business panel. So, that's just another way where your reviews and having a good review portfolio is so important, that if people are going to your Google My Business knowledge panel and they're seeing the information, you definitely want to come off as a really impressive business, as opposed to them going to search other ads from inside your panel. So, when it comes to that sort of stuff, I think it's really important to keep abreast of what's going on. The other really valuable resource that I recommend, and I'm going to type this in the chat, is localsearchforum.com. A lot of experts, it's a forum where people consistently ask questions about local search. It's really great for agencies and consultants as well. A lot of the local SEO experts hang out in there and answer questions. So if you have a question about local, chances are it's going to appear in that forum. Highly recommended to continue to educate yourself outside of blog.grade.us. Boris?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, absolutely. And again, if anyone has any questions or sales questions, or like how to, pitch customers in the best way or anything like that, I'm always available. You can reach out to me directly, boris@grade.us. If we haven't been able to get to your questions, just reach out to support@grade.us, and we'll certainly do so. I see a couple of Replit migration questions, those are best bet to reach out to support at Grade Us, because that's working out. So that's kind of all that I see here right now. Thanks again for hanging out here with us. We should be doing this every month, Garrett. Is that right?
Yeah, so the plan is we definitely want to have a cadence of doing this every month going forward. If you don't already, keep your eyes peeled for our Grade Us newsletters. We try to have the webinar registration links in there. We're kind of going to double down this next month. We're going to do towards the end of September, we're going to do another office hours, but I've also scheduled, I'm really excited, in talks with a couple of local SEO experts to do a webinar talking about responding to reviews and fake reviews. So keep your eyes peeled on that next week in the newsletter, and then we'll also be sharing that on our Facebook and Twitter. One thing that we also need to do a better job of on our end is, aside from our own platform, which we use in the signature email snippets. If you can, while you're here, we would love for you to leave a review about the Grade Us platform. You can go to Grade Us/us, which is our review funnel. And then, if you leave a review on Capterra or Facebook or G2 Crowd, we really do appreciate it. We appreciate all of you for taking the time to be here today during your special day. And we appreciate you as customers. We're constantly working to improve upon this. Oh, one more thing that I forgot, speaking of thinking of our customers, is in terms of development, our product manager, Cindy, who is not able to be here today, wanted me to pass along a link for a survey. We are considering and looking at demand around if our customers want a mobile app. So here is a survey. If you have time, it's very simple. Just, do you want it? What would you want out of a mobile app for Grade Us? I get the sense, Jenna, that a lot of people would appreciate that. Because, whether it's, responding to reviews or getting review notifications or a whole smattering of possibilities, we'd love to get your feedback. If there's enough demand, that's something that we could get on the roadmap. Once again, appreciate everybody. Thanks for taking the time. Boris, thank you for joining us today. Boris is around here. But anyway, I'm Garrett. He's like, I'm good. I got the answer. No, I really do appreciate it. Thank you again for sure. And any last minute questions, reach out to Boris, reach out to me, reach out to support@grade.us. Y'all, it's a pleasure. We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.